Not Zachary Good, Brandon Collins. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Friday Night Fire. Zach and Eric are not here this week, but that's all right. We're gonna have a good week anyway. Good show. We got an episode all planned out. See the comments already blowing up. What's up, Ryan? Ryan, what's up, Bobby Stone Plays? We love you guys for joining us every week. It's your host this week, Brandon Collins. All right, guys. So yeah, we're gonna have a good week. We got people in the backstage. Let's bring them in. Our other co-host, Joshua Steele. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, my man? Greetings and salutations, all you beautiful chili heads. What's good?
Bro, I'm so glad that you are joining me this week. Otherwise, I'm not as good. I don't think I'm as good at this as Zach is, but that's why I'm here, though. You know what I mean? I've been here A1 since day one. Yeah, it'll be all right. So this week we have a special guest. He's from my neck of the woods, kind of.
Yep.
And yeah, I'm excited to have him on. I've been really wanting to, promote Colorado hot sauce more. So yeah, should be really cool to have him on. So let's just bring him in. Mr. Ryan Mowry from Horrifying Hot Sauce.
Hey, everybody.
How's it going, brother?
Doing well. Thank you for having me.
It's good.
Of course, glad to have you.
And I've been really looking forward to doing this and meeting you and getting to know you more and getting to know more about Horrifying Hot Sauce. Yeah, buddy.
Cool.
So yeah, you are based out of Denver, Colorado. Is that correct?
Yeah, I am now. Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the background of Horrifying Hot Sauce, how it started, and the story behind it. You know what I mean?
Sure. So I actually started it back in San Antonio. So originally, I would have been more appropriate for the Texas hotspot, but moved in the meantime. So I, for years, was trying to open a brewery or a brew pub. As a home brewer for years and years and years, it was just something I really wanted to do. I like making recipes. I like making flavors. You know what I mean? I was working with a friend of mine. It didn't end up working out. So then I decided, what else can I do with fermentation? And I always loved spicy. I always grew peppers and stuff. So I kind of looked into, I had heard about pepper fermentation for hot sauce. So looked into it, learned more about it, found out that it's actually a lot of the same bacteria that's used in sour beer brewing, which I did before. So I already was familiar with these flavors. So I was like, well, let's put it together and try it out. So I made my first batch in 2019, I think it was 2018, somewhere in there. I just grabbed the chilies I had in my yard and put them together and just tried it. And it wasn't horrible. It wasn't great, but it wasn't horrible. Right. So I went from there and just started kind of playing with recipes. Decided that this is something I could do where I could do it by myself. I don't have to have support. I can make a batch of hot sauce one person. It's really hard to make beer by one person if you're making large batches.
Definitely.
Hot sauce I can do. So I was like, let me try this out. Started working on it in Texas, but then we ended up moving here to Denver because of basically we just wanted to move closer to family. So we did that. And then after being here for about a year, my corporate job went away. I was like one of 32 people that was like, everybody with this job title, you guys have 60 days to find a new job. So, but the good thing is I was there for a long time and it was a corporate job. So they gave me some severance. So I used that time that I could work, and have some money come in to start setting up the hot sauce. So,
very smart.
Thank you. It made it a little less scary to try and do it. You know what I mean? And it's still scary. I'm still not making any money. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's
I feel you.
I'll tell you. I know. I've been in the community for about the same amount of time as you. I think about 5 years now. You know what I mean? And I've seen I've seen a lot of hot sauce companies come and go. It's not easy to have a successful brand and keep it going. Small
Yeah,
bit
you definitely got to stand out.
the small batch stuff and small business in America, it's dying.
It's hard. It is.
It's really hard.
And especially since I have no employees, like I do the labels, I do the website, I do the recipes. I bottled 150 bottles of hot sauce today.
Oh wow,
I do all of
okay.
that stuff. Yeah, it's all me. So, anyways, my job ended, and I was like, okay, let's try and do this. At first, I did try to do brewery here too, but the entrance fee is just way too high. You know what I mean? Like, it just takes a lot of money to start that. So I was like, let me do hot sauce first, and I still hope maybe one day to do brewery. But in the meantime, these hot sauces that I've been working on and these recipes I've been working on, I brought them back, and then I started. I was able to marry that with the fact that I've always loved art for years. Like since I was a little kid, I've always been drawing, sketching, painting, all that sort of stuff. So I got an iPad for Christmas back in 2020 and found some really good art software on there and was able to like really actually use it for the first time ever. You know what I mean? And I was like, well, what if I take my hot sauces I like and I take my paintings that I like and I put them together with horror movies, which obviously, as you can see, I like movies. And it just kind of worked. So yeah, now I'm got Horrifying Hot Sauce, horrifyingco.com as it says on the bottom of the screen, or horrifyinghotsauce.com. They both get you to the same place. Currently, I think I have 15 or 16 recipes with the state, that are like locked in and legal. So I try to keep 5 or 6 as like year-round recipes, and the other ones I just rotate through. I do a lot of my business is kind of based on craft beer. So I do collaborations, I do one-offs, I do, seasonal, like
kind of stuff.
Like Brandon has one of my seasonals right now, which is Season of the Witch, which is my pumpkin spice hot sauce. Only do that this time of year. Thank you. So I'm kind of basing it off of that model of craft beer, but making it craft hot sauce. So I have collaborations with filmmakers and people in movies. I have collaborations with breweries. Just try to do a little bit of different. So all my sauces.
I was scrolling your website earlier, and you've got a ton of great sauces, and the labels are like really artsy, and they pop out at you.
I'm a sucker for a good label, and these labels are immaculate. I will say.
Thank you, man.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. That's another thing I've been working on for years, like since. Probably 2020, when everybody was stuck at home, is when I started making them where I was sending them out to people and getting feedback. And that's when I started doing the labels. Yeah, that's the pumpkin spice.
Damn, that is.
Yeah, I've heard great things about the pumpkin spice.
Good.
Season of the Witch.
Yeah. Bro. Halloween 3 is one of my favorite movies. This so overlooked.
Oh, wow.
Right now.
That's interesting because most Halloween fans usually say that's the least popular Halloween movie.
It is because there's no Mike Myers, but if you take out the word Halloween 3 from the beginning, it's an amazing movie. Just forget about its Halloween.
It is. The story is fantastic.
It is.
So how did you adopt the rating system that you have?
So originally I did just So originally I did just 5 out of, and I would do like bits of art. So like for example, this one would be like 4 out of 5 pumpkins or whatever.
So this one's rated R.
But then I decided, I wanted to make it like the MPAA. So I have PG, which is my mild, PG-13 is medium, R is hot, and NC-17 is, I call it crazy hot or stupid hot. And just like the MPAA, it's totally arbitrary and just up to me what I feel.
I love it.
There's a great documentary called This Movie Is Not Yet Rated. If you've never seen it, they've literally like stake out the MPAA and try and figure out how they rate things, and it's totally arbitrary. So that one is R. It's probably on the hotter end of the R, but it's not NC-17.
It's a little hotter.
It's got a lot of Reaper in it.
I was gonna start off with the medium. I guess medium, and then work. Mm-hmm. This would be.
But we brought it up, so
this would be the medium hot, and then you sent me a extra hot, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think you have Linnea's lipstick.
So, I just start off by saying that the packaging, tracking, everything was immaculate, and
Oh, good.
I'm a sucker for that too.
I'm glad to hear it.
If I'm opening up a box and it looks like it was packed with love, I'm gonna be hyped about it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah. I appreciate you
very
notice
much
that.
so.
a lot. You know what I mean? That goes a long way.
Yeah,
So,
I do take time. Like
Presentation is first impression.
packaging, 10 out of 10 on that.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, I even sit there and make sure when I'm putting the bottles in that they're going to be facing up when you open it, so like you see the front of the labels. You know,
I know it went noticed. You know what I mean?
Good.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you.
This is amazing.
Thanks.
Carrot, pumpkin, peppers, hot peppers. What is this? Chocolate habanero, Carolina Reaper are the hot ones, and then red jalapeno and orange bell pepper. So yeah, let's see. You added some brine back in, like some of the fermented.
So
brine,
just about
right?
all of my sauces, like 99.9% of my sauces are fermented. I'm actually releasing one at my anniversary party at the end of the month. That's my first kind of non-fermented, but I'll explain that in a minute. But yeah, the way I do my process is I do 3-gallon batches. I'll fill it up with my peppers and fruits or whatever it's going in the beginning, and then I'll top that with brine and let it sit for a minimum of 2 weeks so it gets that fermented flavor. I dump that out and reserve the brine, and then I use a combination of brine and vinegar for the sauce. So all the flavor that went into that brine goes back into the sauce. It doesn't just get dumped out. You know what
It's
I mean?
delicious. I will
And that's
say.
the only salt I use too. I don't add any salt beyond what's in the brine. So
it's balanced very well.
Thank you.
For a hot sauce, it's I like a saltier hot sauce anyway. It's perfect. It's I want to put it on mashed potatoes and meat. You know what I mean?
Thanksgiving hot sauce, man, and it goes great on pumpkin pie.
Turkey, exactly. So
I made a pumpkin pie and put a little bit of that in while it was cooking, so it was kind of like you wouldn't really see it, but it was just little dabs, not like mixed in. I just put dabs in before I threw it in the oven, and yeah, it was nice. It was just like little spots of flavor as you eat your pumpkin pie.
It's pepper forward, but the pumpkin doesn't go unnoticed, and the spices aren't overpowered either.
Oh, good.
It's really well balanced.
Thank you.
Now, people might joke and call me mild spicy, but I do have a decent spice tolerance. This is this is like right where I want to be, exactly where it's addictingly hot, where it's not
that's what I like. Yeah. My favorite thing is when somebody goes, "Oh,
you're craving, but you can still eat it daily with a couple meals and not be wrecked."
My favorite thing when I'm doing tastings is when somebody, same here. My favorite thing when I'm doing tastings is when somebody goes, "Oh wow, that's really hot," and I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry, is it too hot?" They're like, "No, can I have more?" And that's when I'm like, perfect. Yeah. And you'll see as you do the NC-17 sauce later, I'm all about flavor first. Even my really hot sauces are not just hot to be hot. Like that batch has, when we get to talk about it, it's got crazy ingredients in a lot of them. So, and they're not all just super hot peppers.
And that's what I love is the appreciation for flavor, because a lot of people's sauces, they make them hot just to be hot for heat's sake.
Right.
And then you can really taste the extract or the flavors just smoke.
And that's the thing, you'll if you look at my sauces too, I don't use any extracts. I don't use any smoke flavoring. I don't use any, literally everything on the label you can read and pronounce. There's no emulsifiers. There's no, I tell you to shake it because it's going to separate because it's all natural. You know what I mean?
I appreciate that. I don't mind a little xanthan gum. Some people get a little wild about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't. I just chose early on that I didn't want to do any of that.
Let's just go into this one. This one's thicker. This one's a little bit.
That one is a bit thicker.
So
that's what we do in the shadows, or what we eat in the shadows. Sorry, based on what we do in the shadows.
I already opened
and I'm jealous, Brandon. This is one I'm wanting to try.
I've been eating this all week.
Oh yeah.
This is the one I've been wanting to try for like a while now. I keep seeing it, and I'm like, I I like a heavy garlic, you know what I mean? And this is
I do
just
too.
this is really, really good. It's got like a earthiness here. We'll just get into it, the tasting.
There's
So,
five,
guys,
what, 5 kinds of garlic?
Yep.
this
Yeah,
is
it's garlic
the
5 ways. What we eat in the shadows.
milder one that we
It is PG-13, right?
that I
So it's
picked.
got a little heat, but it's not going to be overwhelming at all. That one is
Just
mostly
smells-
red jalapenos. It's got some chocolate habanero and some red New Mexico chili, and then garlic 5 ways. So it's got
That's
fresh.
what's coming through on the smell is the New Mexico red chilies. And it's still like the earthiness of it. I
love
it.
dried
Dude.
chili.
I can't get enough of it. Yeah.
I use dried New Mexico chilies and Guajillo chilies in a few of my sauces. So it takes
Wow.
extra work
Very
because
nice.
you have to rehydrate them first, but it's worth it. And then garlic 5 ways. So fresh, fermented, powdered, roasted, and black garlic.
I love some black garlic.
That's just amazing sauce, man.
Thank you. And then we finish it with a little brown sugar just to sweeten it up just a little bit. But
Yeah.
Very cool.
This like I don't know. I just eat a lot of potatoes, but this is potatoes all day.
I'd use that on my nachos and my tacos, breakfast. Totally good on eggs.
On a taco or just some like carne asada with some oh man.
Yeah.
Just really delicious.
Thank you.
Earthy.
Yeah, I'm the weird one. I'd put it on some popcorn.
Flavor.
I mean, put it wherever you want, man. I put Pazuzu, which is my purple hot sauce, on ice cream. So,
So I do this.
Very nice.
I do this garlic 3 ways. We call it say garlic again, motherfucker.
Nice. I like it.
And,
good reference.
Yeah, and it's a 1 year honey garlic ferment,
Okay.
and then 1 month black garlic that I make, and then just roasted garlic, and it's a soy sauce like teriyaki sauce with a bunch of honey in it. It's really good.
Good.
Any kind of garlic more than once for me.
Yeah,
bro. Yeah. You just get the layers of the flavors. Just they keep adding up, and it's just makes for the best stuff, I think.
I appreciate it. Yeah, and I'm a big fan of black garlic. That's a ingredient you'll find in a lot of my sauces as well.
Guys, get on the internet.
The interwebs.
Pick this one up, guys. You're not gonna regret it. This is probably, I mean, both of these are good. I haven't been giving these any number ratings, but these are both 9s in my opinion. I mean,
thank you.
Super delicious
Very
sauce.
nice.
I'm a snob for like, I don't want a sauce that's just gonna burn my mouth out. I don't. I want something that's gonna taste good, and I will pair well with the food that I like to eat. You know what I mean?
Right.
These two sauces already are gonna be. These will be gone so fast. And
I went through my test bottle of what we eat in the shadows real fast, so I know what you mean. Like when first I tried it, I was like, "Oh, that's really good," and that bottle didn't last long.
Yeah, it's really, really delicious.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
So yeah, let's see. Garlic 5 ways. So Midge mentioned the label. What is this, a reference to a show or something?
Yeah, so there's a movie that then became the TV show called What We Do in the Shadows, and it is a fake documentary about a family of vampires. And then so they made the movie, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago. And then about 5-7 years ago, they made a TV show, which is created by the same people, but not focusing on the same vampires. But it's the same idea. It's a documentary about a family of vampires. And that is the Baron on the label there, who is, older than time itself. And in one of the episodes, they take him out on the town, and he ends up feeding off somebody who's drunk. So he gets drunk, and he's actually holding a little stress ball in the reference image that I used for the painting, but I changed it to a ball of garlic, and then I threw a pentagram around it because it's garlic 5 ways. So
nice. Hell yeah.
But yeah, if you've not seen it, What We Do in the Shadows, even if you don't like scary, it's not scary. It's
Yeah, that sounds like something
funny.
I can get down on, actually. I like
Yeah, it's kind of become a cult classic, actually.
It has, for sure.
Sookie, what's that? True Blood, yeah. I like True Blood.
Nice.
I love anything vampire. So.
Yeah, maybe I can get down on that.
Yeah, definitely check it out.
All right, what's this last one here? This is the one I was most interested about.
Okay, I have a bottle of it up here too. So this is Linnea's lipstick. It comes in either waxed or non-waxed. So this is the waxed version. Brandon opted for the non-wax. You can get it either way on my website. It's $1 cheaper without the wax. This one is signed by Linnea because I had dinner with her the other day. So Linnea Quigley, who is on that label, is a scream queen from the 80s. If you're into 80s horror, she's in all of the best 80s horror movies.
Oh, that's what Eric was talking about. See,
yeah.
Yep.
Eric totally.
This is why we needed Eric here with
Eric's
me.
a movie buff and a horror. He's
man.
You know, he's got Creature Sauce Company. And
right.
He's got, like,
right.
Chupacabra and Swamp Thing. You know. Oh yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway, this one is not based on a specific movie, though the art is from a movie called Night of the Demons. And the name is a reference to the movie Night of the Demons. And if anyone's seen Night of the Demons, if you know, you know, with the lipstick.
Man.
That one, I met up with Linnea at a conference at a horror con earlier this year and gave her some sauces, and she was just so nice. And I was like, hey, you know, would you make me a little video of those sauces? And usually when I ask people to do that, they're like, sure. And then I never hear from them again. She literally sent me a video that night from her hotel with like, here's this sauce and I love it. And here's this sauce. And I was like, holy crap. So I talked to her and I'm like, well, why don't we make a sauce together? And she's like, that'd be awesome. She wanted watermelon and raspberry. So I'm guessing you just got the watermelon. So
holy shit.
Yeah.
That is like nothing I've ever had before.
It was a difficult recipe to figure out, man. I ended up dehydrating watermelons so that I could concentrate the flavor without making the sauce super thin. So in a batch of about 90 bottles, there's 6 full-size watermelons in 95-ounce bottles. And then it's raspberry and hibiscus. And then on the pepper side, it's got manzano, which is one of my favorites that I use in a bunch of my sauces. It's got red jalapeno. And then for the big hitters, it's got ghost and a ton of scorpions. So.
Yeah. This is something else, man. Like this is one of the most unique sauces I've ever tasted, probably.
And like I said, even though that one's NC-17, it's
hot.
It's super hot. I had one guy tell me it's the hottest he's ever had, and I'm like, I don't think so, but you know, okay, that's cool.
It's up there. The scorpion really, really comes through.
Yeah, and there's a lot of scorpion in there too.
You can smell it. That's what
you can.
That's all.
It's watermelon and scorpion is what I get. So,
but the flavor is
yeah, and that's what I want to do. Is even my NC-17 sauces, I don't want them to be just like, oh, that's hot. I want it to be like
sauce. It's not sweet like I thought it would be.
No,
that's what surprised me. But it is sweet, but it's not. It's so
sweet in the beginning, and then you get kind of another thing I like doing is playing with heats. I don't throw everything in that's all the same. So I like putting some stuff that's not very hot with stuff that's really hot so that you get those jalapenos right away, and then you get the scorpions after, and you know, stuff kind of goes like a roller coaster. Yeah, exactly. Yep. That one for me gets hotter for like 5 minutes or so.
That is hot.
Yeah. I don't play around with the NC-17s. I like I said, I don't make them just to hurt you, but I don't play around either. Like I definitely put some heat in there. So
love it.
A barrage of flavor. That heat on the very last one. Whoo! It is not mild, guys.
It is not.
Hot spot tonight.
Yeah, one of my favorite.
So tell us about some of your favorite sauces that you've made so far.
Okay. Well, let me say one thing first about Linnea's lipstick. I was at the Morgan Crypt Horror Convention in Albuquerque a couple weeks ago, and I gave this one guy was like, "What's your hottest sauce?" And I told him, "I think it's this one," and he tried it, and he was like, I got to get water. And it just took off, like literally ran away from my table. So that was my favorite. Some of my favorite sauces, let's see. Pazuzu is probably one of my favorites just because it took me like 4 years to get the recipe right. It's my purple
Oh,
sauce.
wow.
It's blueberry, watermelon, and prickly pear. And then mostly habanero with a little bit of hotter stuff to, again, play with the heat, but not to burn you out. It's probably my least hot of my R-rated sauces. That one I really like. Momo is one of my favorites just because it's different from anything else. You said you've had Momo, right?
Mango and Manzana peppers.
Yeah, Manzanos are like, I fell in love with those. So like I said, I used to live in San Antonio, and at my grocery store one day they had these weird looking little peppers, and I'm like, what are these? Let me check it out. You okay there, Brandon?
Bro,
Still getting hotter?
that I'm gonna have a spoonful of that. That is a hot sauce.
It is a hot sauce. But yeah, I found these peppers called Manzano, and they're just crazy. For anyone who's not familiar, they're like little yellow apples. You cut them open, they've got super thick walls like a bell pepper. They're about as hot as a cayenne, but they taste like tropical fruit, and they've got black seeds. They're just, everything about them is weird. If you try to grow peppers, you can't mix their family with any other family. They won't.
Have you grown successfully those in Colorado?
No. I grew plants in San Antonio, and I never got any peppers off them. So I've not had any luck with them.
If you guys out there don't know, Manzanos are notorious for being one of the hardest peppers to cultivate.
Peppers to grow.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what I've heard.
At one time, I had like 12 plants, and like I said, I didn't get one pepper off of 12 plants.
I think they import them from Argentina. I'm not sure.
So the ones I get are from Mexico, but they are originally from Argentina, Peru, that part of the world. But they are popular in Mexico. Man. Oh, they're so good. So yeah, Momo is, I wanted to figure out how to kind of show off the flavor of that pepper in a bottle.
It's like an apple pepper, right?
Yeah. So it's just Manzano and mango, and then vinegar. Like that's it. It has nothing else. Apple. It does mean apple in Spanish because they look like little apples.
Yeah, for sure. We've made a sauce. I think I made a sauce out of Manzanos way back when I first got
delicious. It. So that was Momo's one of my favorites because it's like I don't think there's another sauce like it out there.
Not that I've ever seen it.
Yeah, Manzanos are a pain to work with. They just really are. Like they've got these thick black seeds, so I de-seed Manzanos when I work with them. Like they're the only peppers I do. Every other pepper I leave the seeds in when I'm making them the sauce. But Manzanos are just like I don't want someone to pick up a sauce and be like, what's that black thing floating in my sauce? Because you don't know. You don't expect it to be a seed. No other peppers have black seeds, so none outside of that family at least. But yeah, I really love that one. I really love Pazuzu, and my personal favorite flavor-wise is probably Sweets for the Sweet, which used to be called Black is Beautiful.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that one.
I know you quit making Black is Beautiful, so
kind of. So when I lived in San Antonio, Black is Beautiful was a brewery thing, actually. So if you guys weren't aware, in the summer of 2020, 2021, when we had all the social unrest and everything going on, there is a local brewery, or there was, it just closed recently, in San Antonio called Weathered Souls, which has the only head black brewer in San Antonio, at least at that time. I don't know if there is now because I don't live there anymore. But they made a beer called Black is Beautiful. And then they gave the recipe to any brewery that wanted to brew it with the stipulation that you give your profits to a POC charity in your area. Right. So using that, they made over $1 million in a year in donations to charity.
Hell yeah.
And if you look, like, if you guys are on Untapped and you type in Black is Beautiful, there will be 1,000 responses because so many breweries got in and made versions of it. So I told him I wanted to make a hot sauce version of it. And he's like, cool, let's do it. So I took the Black is Beautiful stout that they made, the original stout, and made a hot sauce around that beer. So I ended up using 32 ounces of the beer in the brine. So that's where the beer comes in. And then it's blackberries, black cherries, chocolate habanero, black garlic. So it's just this deep, roasty, beautiful sauce.
That sounds delicious.
San Antonio, Weathered Souls is not around anymore, so I can't get the Black is Beautiful beer that I used to have. So I can't really do, that specific sauce. So what I've done is I've changed it to a new sauce, which is Sweets for the Sweet, which is a reference to Candyman, which is a black horror character. So we're still staying in the same theme. And then it's the same recipe, except I just use a different stout every time, and just kind of change that out.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So that one is probably my
information.
favorite as far as what I personally like to eat. That one I think is my absolute favorite. I go through bottles of that. As soon as I run out of the ones to sell, I get to take the sample bottle home, and then those don't last long in my fridge. So, but yeah, I that was a really good sauce. I wish Weathered Souls was still around so that we could actually partner on it, but the recipe is still the recipe, and I think it's one of the better ones. It's the weirdest smelling sauce too. Like when I make it, it smells horrible. And most of my sauces, I like the smell, but like when I open the fermenting jar for Sweets for the Sweet, it's like turns my stomach. I don't know why. Something about that beer in there just does not make it smell good. But then once I blend it up, it's my favorite flavor.
That's funny. There's only one other sauce that I know of that has a beer product in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's from Crack Sauce, CRAIC.
Oh yeah. I'm aware.
And they have this one. It's called Mary Mac Black, and it uses this black pepper porter vinegar.
Okay.
And I will say, it is one of the most foul. It's not a good smelling sauce, but the flavor on it is incredible. You're like, what is this?
And Sweets for the Sweet, when you smell it in the bottle, it doesn't smell nearly as pungent as it does when I dump it from the fermenter. It still has a weird smell. Like I still think it smells not great. Kind of like you said on that one.
Stout fermentation.
Yeah. But it tastes awesome. And actually, I was working on back in San Antonio. There was a brewery in the south of San Antonio that was really good at making IPAs and like hazy IPAs, things that look like this with a lot of hops in them. So I was talking with them, and I still want to go back and talk with them or work on it myself to make a dry hopped hot sauce. So if you're into craft beer at all, you'll see the term dry hopped, and everybody's like, I don't know what that means, whatever. But dry hopped is when you're making a beer after it's done boiling, then you add hops. So there's no heat and you just get the flavor and the aroma. So I want to do that to my brine. I want to hop my brine and then throw that in there and see how it turns. We'll see. It might be horrible.
I know one guy that would love that. I know a guy that he loves hoppy beers. He's actually recently sober for like a year.
Good for him.
And he would love something like that. He's actually the original host of Texas Hot Spot, Zachary Goots.
Oh, yeah, awesome.
On your sobriety.
Yeah, congratulations. And I'm still working on.
Loved IPAs.
Yeah. I want to do it with some fruity flavors like you get in an IPA, and then the hoppy flavors on the end. I just haven't gotten to that one yet. I have so many ideas.
I just started, actually, this is a little off topic, but I recently just got into fermenting, and I just bottled my first batch of mead.
Oh, congratulations.
It isn't a rogue mead.
Right.
It's just recycling at its finest, you know what I mean? It actually turned out really good. It's
nice.
It's a Colorado mead. So I went out and I picked some like wild sage, juniper, and Mormon tea, it's called. It's like,
I've heard of that.
It's got a ephedra in it and stuff. Yeah. So
does it have like a gin flavor with the?
It does actually. It's it almost tastes like a mead gin combo thing. It's I thought it was gonna be on the drier side, but it's actually on the sweeter side. I found out I use bread yeast. I was just messing around, you know what I mean? But
it'll work, but it'll only go to a certain alcohol.
5 to 8%. So I just went to the winemaking store or whatever, and I got some special yeast now that
like for mead.
Yeah, so the next batch that I
Smart
make
man.
is going to be drier than it's going to be drier than because it's going to have all those botanicals in it.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's going to be so dry. I leave those botanicals in for like the first month. You know what I mean?
Oh wow.
Take them out.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a recipe from my friend that's local in the area, and it tastes just like Colorado. It's so good. It's like really.
Are you shooting for a more bitter, earthy taste or the honey earthy
definitely
taste?
No, it's definitely like earthy because it's all like you said, it just tastes
it sounded like you're listing off ingredients for gin. Yeah,
sage, juniper, and Mormon tea. And Mormon tea is like really, that alone is like even more dry than what the juniper is. It's that stuff will, bro, if you just take it and nibble on it, just a hair, your whole mouth will go bone dry like that. It's insane stuff. Yeah, it's got, and then it's got a bunch of ephedra in it too, which is like a stimulant. So yeah, I've just been getting into that too. A little bit of mead making. That's been real fun.
Fermentation is fun. You know, I love the science of it. It's like it's such a fun combo of science and like art, because you can be really great with science and make horrible beer or horrible mead or horrible hot sauce because you know the rules and you know like the steps and what you need to do doesn't mean you're going to make something good. And then there's the whole other side that's like the art side of it, which is like the flavors and like playing with the flavors and seeing how the fermentation changes the flavors and like what does this taste like versus that. So I mentioned earlier I have a sauce that's my first kind of non-fermented sauce. I'm going to be having a anniversary party on October 30th. So technically my anniversary is Halloween. That was when I launched, was last Halloween. I figured that was an appropriate day for Horrifying Hot Sauce.
Great day for an anniversary.
I thought so. Can't forget it. So so on the 30th, we're gonna have a event here in Denver. So if anybody out there is in Denver, go to my Instagram and you can get tickets.
I'm in the wrong Denver.
But I'm making a sauce, or I made a sauce today actually, that is nothing but peach purple peppers. So I got about 7 or 8 different varieties of peach purples, you know, so like some peach reapers, some peach purple ghosts, and you know, all that sort of variety.
Tigers, what are those?
Yeah, all of that sort of stuff. Actually, here I can tell you exactly what's in it because I have it right here. California Reaper, PJ UFO, Blue Ghost Peach, Peach Reaper, JPGS, Fatali, Pink Tiger by Peach Bootlaw, Peach BBG7, Brain Collapse Peach, KS Peach, and T-Rex Peach. Because I had a box of mixed.
Oh wow! Peppers. This does not sound like the two that I thought it was.
Right. So it's got all that. And then I take that and mix it with prickly pear and acai, which is this weird fruit from South America, which are pink and purple. And then I use the brine from my Pazuzu sauce. So it's all fresh peppers and fresh ingredients with fermented brine. So it still gets a little bit of the fermented flavor without being a full-on fermented sauce.
That sounds amazing. And what are you going to call that one?
It's called The Color Out of Space. The Color Out of Space is an old
that's
H.P.
the pink
Lovecraft
one that I've seen on the website.
Yep, that's the pink one. Actually, I just started posting about it. I don't think it's on my website yet, but it's on my Instagram. But yeah, so that's an old H.P. Lovecraft horror story from the early 1900s, 1915, 1920, somewhere in that ballpark, about a meteor that comes from space and everything changes. And then they recently made it into a movie with Nick Cage, which is amazing. One of Nick Cage's best.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's really, really good. But The Color Out of Space is kind of a pink purple color. So this sauce is actually, I just posted it on my Instagram today. So if any of you out there, it's at Horrifying Hot Sauce is my Instagram. I just posted a picture of it, and it looks like it's creamy pink. Is the only way I can explain it. It's like the if you've seen Ghostbusters 2, it's like the stuff that's floating underneath New York in Ghostbusters 2. It's this weird pink color. Cool. Yeah, so we're gonna have that. I see
Eric's apparently not busy enough to comment.
Yeah, okay.
Too busy to not be here.
Well, I already explained that if you were listening earlier. But I can go back over it real quickly. I was actually at a horror con in Colorado Springs earlier this spring. I have a friend who makes movies, and one of my hot sauces is the official hot sauce of his movie, which is this one right here, Matul's Hammer. And he was Linnea Quigley's roommate in the 90s. They lived together. So he was like, go say hi to my roommate, and I'm like, I will. And I went over to Linnea and I'm like, Scott says hi. And she's like, oh my God, Scott. And then that was it. That's all it took. She's super nice. She's super cool. So Midge, yeah, I introduced myself with that. I gave her 2 bottles of hot sauce. And like I was telling these guys, I was like, hey, can you maybe make me a little video or something? And literally that night from the hotel, she sent me a video with the 2 sauces, which is on my website. And then we just started talking. And a couple months later, I was like, hey, why don't we make a sauce together? And she's like, that's awesome. Let's do it. And so we talked about the flavors she wanted. And she wanted watermelon and raspberry. So we made a watermelon and raspberry, and she wanted it to be really, really hot.
Bro,
so that's what we went for.
One of the most, I will say, this is one of the most unique, flavorful sauces I've ever had. But you know what? I thought this was different, but I've had pumpkin spice. You know what I mean?
Right.
This
You would
smells
like voodoo too.
pumpkin
Voodoo
spice
is really good.
isn't overpowered. It's really good. But this, holy shit.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's something.
But really,
you're
making me really want to try a lot of these newer sauces now. Dude, your reaction is amazing.
Get up on there. Horrifying.
Yeah, like I said, I like to do weird sauces.
I'm
weird
excited
flavors,
for that all white sauce coming out.
Yeah, so that's another one I'm releasing at my anniversary party. It's called Ain't Afraid. So it's a Ghostbusters reference. And I used all white peppers, or white peppers, so they're lightly yellow, lightly green, whatever.
Yeah.
Some of them are actually white. The T-Rex, or not T-Rex, Why Nots? Those are. I was impressed by how actually white they are.
Why Nots have great heat.
They get crazy.
Yeah. And then the Carboneros too. I was very impressed with how white those were. But it's all white peppers and then dragon fruit, jicama, and lychee. So it's fermenting. And if you go to my Instagram, you can see the picture of the 3-gallon jar with most of the white peppers, the dragon fruit, and the jicama. And then in a week or so here, when I go bottle it up, I will add in more white peppers and I will add in the lychee and some more dragon fruit at that time, so that the sweetness from the dragon fruit hasn't all been fermented away. So that's why I add some back in at the end. So.
I love some jicama.
Very cool. I love it because I've been saying for years we need somebody to do dragon fruit spiciness, and there's never really been a big dragon fruit hot sauce.
I see doing fermented jicama, and then it made me think, man, because I really like a parsnip, and then I was like, you know what? I wonder what a parsnip hot sauce would be.
I mean, it would be earthy, but it might not be bad if you find the right stuff to go with it. So, one of my early versions of Pazuzu, when I was trying to figure out how to make it purple, had beets in it. And I will tell you, it was not the best version. It was not horrible, but it was way earthy.
Yeah,
beets are a unique taste.
Yeah, they are. But the color was spot on. Like, it was the color I wanted. It just wasn't the flavor I wanted. So, like I said, that one took a lot.
That's one thing I can say about your sauces is they all have amazing color that really pop and stand out. Like the first things you notice are the labels, and then this beautiful, colorful background that just surrounds it, which is the sauce. Your presentation is amazing.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah. With a lot of my sauces, that's actually where I start. Is like I want to make a yellow sauce or a purple sauce or a whatever color sauce, and then I think about what flavors will work with that. So like I knew for my anniversary sauce, I wanted to make a white sauce, and I knew I wanted to do Ghostbusters because I know lots of people my age, that was the first introduction to horror, is when that librarian turns around. Right. When the librarian turns around and her face, becomes all scary and she's giant demon. I'm like, that was what got me and kind of like first made me think maybe this is something I actually like. So I wanted to go back to Ghostbusters. So I'm like, I got to make a ghostly sauce, right? So that's where I was like, I want to make a white sauce. So I had to think about it. And I was kind of come up with different white ingredients. And I'm like, I don't want to put garlic in there because first off, it might turn blue when I ferment it. But also, I don't know that it's going to be the right flavor. I thought about potatoes, but then that's very earthy. I'm not sure if that's going to be the right flavor or the right texture. So,
House.
yeah. But yeah, a lot of them are color first. And then I kind of figure it out from there. You know, like Black is Beautiful, when that was one, I wanted to make it as dark as possible. So that's why it's blackberries, black cherries, stout beer, black garlic, you know, chocolate habanero.
Definitely understand.
So
That's
yeah.
a unique start to the process. You don't normally hear most people go with color first, but I love it because it works.
I mean, and then one of the things I've learned over the years is things that are colored the same usually kind of are in the same flavor. Not always, but usually. You know, like something that's lemon colored is probably going to have some lemon flavor. And then you pull out like a lemon, you know, lemon kiss, KS lemon kiss, and you're like, oh, that tastes like lemons. I should mix that with lemons.
Yep.
Right? So, yeah. I'm sorry, what were you saying, Brandon?
Yeah, just like you were saying, yeah. Or like they usually match up, like orange stuff matches up pretty good, you know. Carrots, squash, you know.
Right, exactly. Mangoes and manzano, because they are the exact same color, you know, they work really well together. So, and then the name Momo came because mango and manzano both start with M and end with O.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe you just did that as a tribute to like that YouTube character.
No, and honestly, that's the only sauce that's not specifically from a movie, like the image. And then I did one of these with somebody else last year, and they were like, "Oh no, there's a short film called Momo," and I'm like, oh, "Okay, great. Now they're all movies. We're good to go." So, yeah.
So,
but that
will
was
there
not
be
my
any
intention.
more in the monolith? Because I know there's monolith red and monolith yellow.
So Monolith is a brewery here in Denver, Monolith Brewing, and those are their two house sauces. So that's why it's Monolith Red, Monolith Yellow. And actually, yes, I just was talking to him. Monolith Yellow is Momo plus habanero and lemon. So it starts with the same mango and manzano, and then gets a little citrusy, a little bit spicier. Manzanos right now are stupid expensive. I don't know why. I used to pay $56 a case, and now they're $90 for the same amount. And I'm like, I can't make sauces with a lot of manzano right now. So I was talking with, I mean, it's just
understandable. Certain things are harder to import right now.
Right. And I don't know if it's just out of season or if it's what it is, but they're just really expensive. So I was talking with the brewer at Monolith actually just recently here. We're going to make a third sauce for him out of easier to find peppers. So that way, when manzanos are really expensive, it's okay because this one just has habaneros in it, you know. Or
that's what I like doing. Yeah.
Unfortunately, my tastes and flavors end up going exotic. Next thing I know, I have these really difficult to make sauces with really hard to find ingredients.
Oh yeah, then your cost
it also works out for
goes up too.
Yeah.
Because then you've got different versions of each sauce. You go, okay, I want each version. I got to have the bottle. Like Pokemon, you got to get them all sometimes.
And here's the thing is since I'm licensed with the state of Colorado, like I have to submit my recipe to them, and then I sell it. So like all of the ones that are on my website have all gone to the state of Colorado. So if I want to make a change, I have to go change that recipe, and I have to go pay a guy to look at my recipe and say, yes, this is process exempt because it hits these certain points. So like I try not to be too I'm trying to not make too many different recipes, but I also am always thinking of new ideas. I'm like, I'm just gonna make that. So
you know what? I'd rather someone that keeps it fresh and like.
And again, it kind of goes back to the brewery thing.
But like you said, it's so difficult for us. They make it so hard for a small business to just start. To even exist, it's so expensive.
It is. I mean, I have to I have to do a commercial kitchen. I can't do this at my house. I can't do it as cottage law.
Do you mind talking about this a little bit? Do you rent out a place or?
Yeah. So when I started in Texas allows fermented foods to be cottage law, so I could sell them directly to people, but I couldn't mail them to people. Cottage law means I have to hand it to the consumer is the way you can sell it.
Yeah.
So that limited what I could do. So when I came to Colorado, when I first started looking at this, I looked up, what their cottage law, and in Colorado, you can't do fermented foods at all.
Nothing.
They have cottage law, but it doesn't cover fermented foods. They are exempt.
They don't even cover peppers. You can't even have peppers in your jelly.
You can make
jelly. You can't even have peppers in your jelly. Like
right.
What?
Yeah. So
The state that allows you to have weed is not pepper friendly. That sucks.
but
Oh, yeah, it's
one of the
crazy.
first things I had to answer when I filled out my stuff is, will any of your products have weed in them? And I'm like, no, sir, because I have enough regulation as it is. Thank you.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
but yeah, so I have to have a commercial kitchen space to be legal. It has to be a place that can go in and be inspected at any time. So I work at what's called a commissary kitchen. So where I work, there's a lot of food trucks that work there. But basically, it's a place where you can rent a rack for storage, and that's what I've got is a rack for storage. You can rent freezer space or fridge space, and then you pay for every minute you're in the door. So I get 20 I think I get 10 hours a month is covered by like my base rent, but anything beyond 10 hours a month I'm paying every minute that I'm inside that building.
Damn.
And that's just the way it is. I mean,
It's not
until you
bad.
get your own place. And the commissary kitchen it's a good option. It's not overly expensive. Unfortunately, it's not close to me, so I have a long drive every time I go
Well,
there.
and then they cover. Do they have equipment that you?
Yes, they
See,
have a lot of
big part of
equipment.
it too. So
Right. For me, I don't use any of their equipment besides the stovetop. But
Right.
like, if you were in there making other stuff, they have lots of other equipment that you could be using. For me, it's just the stovetop, because I have my fermenting vessels. I go in there. Basically, what I do is I go in there, I chop up all my stuff, I put it in my fermenter, I throw the brine in, and I
ready
set
to
it on a
go.
shelf.
Yeah.
Yeah, I set it on a shelf for 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks later, I come back and I take that off the shelf. Like I said, I dump the brine, put my ingredients in the blender with my brine and my whatever fresh ingredients I'm using and whatever vinegars I'm using. Because if you notice, my sauces, none of them have plain white vinegar. Even the vinegar's there for flavor. So all of them have either white wine or apple cider or rice wine,
Yeah.
balsamic.
I'm
Anyway,
a fan of good vinegar too.
me
yeah.
too. Like, I know it needs to be there to be hot sauce,
has its
but
place
let's
too
make it
sometimes,
taste good.
Yeah, but
Right.
if you can add more flavor with vinegar, why not? Yeah.
Exactly. So then I go in, like I said, I go back 2 weeks later and I spend a couple hours at the stove and then spend a couple hours bottling. And then, then I have my product. And then, of course, I have to get my labels from one place, and I have to get my bottles from one place. And unfortunately, because I'm so small and I have such small area, I can't buy bottles in bulk. Like, I can get 500, and that's like about maxes out my space, which is better than buying them from Amazon at 24 packs or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's still not cheap.
Definitely.
A good chunk of my cost is literally the bottle and the label and all that.
I just found like the best deal on Amazon, and I'm like, I hope these bottles aren't shitty.
Yeah, right. I've used Amazon bottles many times when I was starting, so and even every once in a while I've had to use them, so they're generally not bad. But yeah,
you're about to do a pickle sauce for our local theater. Basically, they do like their venue, like for rock shows and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
So we did a verde sauce for them a couple months ago, and now they want us to do this other recipe that we sampled them a few different recipes, and the pickle sauce was one of them. The guy, his name is Rick, so I was like, we calling it Pickle Rick, and he was sold already just from the name.
Yeah.
So we're getting ready to do that up here, and it's been our first time in a commercial kitchen or whatever, and it's been real fun. So,
and then the other side of
through there, they got the money for it.
Yeah, right. Then you also have to get with the state and get legal. You know what I mean? Which the nice thing about hot sauce, at least here in Colorado, is if you fall under some certain rules about the way you make it and it's under a certain pH, you can get what's called an exemption letter, which is what all my sauces have. And with an exemption letter, I just deal with the state of Colorado, and that's it. I am exempt from the FDA, which is awesome. I'm still regulated, which is, I still have to do all the rules and be clean and all of that stuff is still there.
Definitely.
But I don't have to deal with the FDA regulation because it's
no red tape, bureaucracy.
Right. But the problem is it also limits me because I want to make salsa, I want to make hot honey, I want to figure out how to sell you my brine. Because like the brine that I'm pouring down the drain is so amazing, but like I can't sell it to you, So I need to I need to figure out how to do these other products, and if I expand to anything beyond hot sauce, it's not going to be exempt anymore. So that's why right now I'm still limited to just hot sauce. My hope is sometime in the next year to get my own location, where I'm not paying by the hour to walk or by the minute to walk in, literally by the minute. And at that point, then I can deal with the FDA. I can deal with expanding to other products because I'm going to have the space and the place to do it. But right now, I'm just limited to just the hot sauces because that's what I can make by myself, literally by myself, with 0 people helping me.
Right.
Excuse me. So, and I can do it without having lots of regulation. Some regulation.
That's very commendable that you've done it with just you. I mean, that's much respect because that's a lot of hard work. And I mean, it takes a lot to get a sauce company off the ground, let alone have that many crossovers and collaborations and sauces out there. So you're definitely doing something right.
He's doing a great job at it too. That's the other thing.
So here's one of the things is I tried to be a filmmaker for years too, and I actually have some movies out there, like on YouTube, and I made a feature length and whatever. But then when that wasn't working, when I started my corporate job 15 years ago, and I just didn't have time for that. Plus, I also had a child. I figured I needed to do something, so I started writing movie reviews. And for about a decade, I wrote reviews of movies, music, and beer. And because of that, I have all these filmmakers that I know, and that kind of has helped me with collaborations. Because it's like, hey man, remember when I wrote you this review? I see you have a new movie coming out. You want to make a sauce for it? And it's an easy way to get in the conversation started. So, so I know I'm going to have at least one more movie hot sauce, hopefully this year, for my friend's movie Compression that just won a ton of awards at Horror Hound a couple weeks ago. That one, it needs to be pink. So we're going to figure out a way to make it pinker than the one that I made today. So
very nice.
Yeah.
I love the collab stuff.
Yeah, like I said, it's kind of, again, that the way craft beer works. Like if you go into any, any small liquor store that's got all the craft beers, you're going to see so many that are like, this brewery and this brewery present this beer. So I want to do collaborations with breweries. I want to do collaborations with artists that make art that I like. So like filmmakers. I want to do collaborations with other hot sauces. I would love to do a collaboration with another hot sauce. I was talking to one on Instagram a long time ago. Yeah, that's right. I was actually thinking it'd be fun to do a sauce with somebody who doesn't make a fermented sauce, and let's both make the same recipe and see how they taste.
Like use the same ingredients.
Right, and then see what the
cool.
difference in sauce would be. I
gotta be honest. When I first heard about fermented sauces, I was kind of iffy because the word fermented and all the predispositions that it holds, but fermented sauces are actually really good once you get past what the word fermented means.
These aren't. You wouldn't even know if no one told you these were fermented. You wouldn't know this.
Bingo.
I think it's the depth of flavor is what it does.
Or anything like that. It just tastes like a really good hot sauce.
Thank you. Yeah, and I like the fermentation because it adds like this depth that you don't get without it. Like it's the same flavors, but they just taste different.
More
and I don't
robust.
know how to explain it. Exactly, more round, more like with a lot of the really super hot peppers, it kind of rounds out their heat a little bit, rather than using them when they're fresh. But then with a lot of my sauces, I like to add fresh peppers back in at the end, so you have a combination of both that fermented, rounded, kind of slowed down heat. And then the really, here's the fresh stuff at the end. So, yeah, I like it all. And maybe one of these days I'll try doing one that's not fermented, but if it doesn't hit my pH, if it's not low enough, then I can't sell it. So we'll see.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we are getting to the end of the show. You guys, you got anything you want to shout out coming up? You got anything? Sure. You got your anniversary thing coming up.
Like I said, October 30th, we're having an anniversary party here in Denver. It's going to be held at a place called Creepatorium, which is part of Horrid, which is Denver's horror shop. They were the first place to carry my sauces, so it's really appropriate that we're doing this at their venue. We're going to have a bunch of fun. We're going to show this movie the Stink of Flesh that this one is based on. We're going to show that with an exclusive introduction by the director if he gets around to recording it for me between now and then. We're going to do an amateur pepper eating contest. We're going to do what I call horrifyingly hot questions. We're going to have some costume contests, door prizes, giveaways. So if anybody's in Denver and wants to come out, especially if you want to eat some hot peppers, because we need some more people to sign up for that. Again, on my Instagram, there's, I've been posting about it all the time. So you can't go to my Instagram and not see it.
Jared's coming out still, or what?
Yeah, Jared from Alpha and Omega is going to be providing the variety.
Farmer J.
Yeah, Farmer J has been a friend of mine for a long time. He was one of the first people I met in the pepper community, and we bonded over a love of Kevin Smith films. So, found out that we both love Kevin Smith.
We've known him for about 5 years.
Yeah, so he's gonna fly out and pick peppers the day beforehand. Hopefully, if his the garden makes it 2 more weeks, and we'll have those. I'm gonna have a pepper. Hopefully, again, if the garden makes it. I've got a guy up in Michigan, Mike Schomber, who's helping me with some peppers, and he's got a pepper he's grown called the Blood Punch. We're gonna throw that in there. So we're gonna have pepper eating contests. We're gonna have horrifying hot questions. We're gonna have a movie. We're gonna have 2 sauces that won't be available elsewhere, and then a bunch of sauces for sale. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, come on down, guys.
And if you're not in Denver, horrifyinghotsauce.com. Anything that I have after the party that didn't sell out will end up on the website. So
hell yeah. So be checking that website, guys, for the new release stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right, guys. So I think that about wraps up the show. Yeah. It's been about
an hour. You and Zach started this thing. You designed it to be about an hour show. So we went about an hour.
Zach always says that every episode. That's pretty funny. Thanks for joining us, Ryan.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
man, it was awesome.
Joshua,
Appreciate
thanks for being here for me, bud. We couldn't have done it without you.
Of course, I love it, my man.
It's been great. I'm your host, Brandon Collins, and we'll catch ya
on the flip side.
Thanks for joining us, everybody.